I work security at a shipping warehouse just outside the city. It's a dull job mostly. 12 hours a night, 4 nights a week. The building sits in a half-abandoned industrial park, and the only other signs of life after sundown are the stray cats and the hum of the freeway a mile away. Most nights I do a few rounds, check the gates, log the camera footage, and kill time watching shows on my phone. It was a Thursday night, well, technically Friday morning, around 2:15 a.m., when things got off. I just finished my second patrol of the night. The place was quiet as always, rows of pallets stacked 10 feet high, forklifts parked and powered down, shipping containers locked up tight. I was halfway through a lukewarm vending machine coffee when I noticed the alert on the monitor. Camera 4 motion detected. Camera 4 covers the back loading bay where we receive overnight deliveries sometimes, but nothing was scheduled for that night. I tapped the screen, expecting to see a cat or maybe a loose tarp flapping in the wind. Instead, I saw a man. He wasn't in a uniform, just jeans, a hoodie, and a baseball cap. He wasn't carrying anything, just standing still, hands in his pockets, about 15 feet from the back door. Not looking at the camera, just the door, like he was waiting. I grabbed the mic connected to the loudspeaker system and keyed it in. "This is private property. You need to leave the premises immediately." The man didn't move. He didn't even flinch. Just stood there like he hadn't heard me or didn't care. I leaned forward and switched to the next camera to get a different angle. But when I came back to camera 4, he was gone. Not walked away, not run, just gone. I felt that twinge in my gut, the one you get when your instincts know something you don't. So I went to check it out. I slid my flashlight off my belt and stepped into the corridor, boots echoing on concrete as I made my way through the warehouse toward the back door. The air back there always feels colder than the rest of the building. I pushed through the double doors and stepped onto the loading dock. No one there. I scanned the lot, checked behind the dumpsters, walked the perimeter. Still nothing. The wind had picked up, and the metal siding of the next building over rattled like distant footsteps. I decided to check the camera feed again. Maybe I'd missed him walking off. As I got back to the office, my phone buzzed in my pocket. Unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Right as I was unlocking the office door, it buzzed again. Same number. No voicemail either time. The third call came 30 seconds later. This time I answered. "Security," I said, trying to sound more annoyed than unsettled. There was a pause, a long one. Then, in a low voice, a man said, "You should have stayed inside." The line went dead. I froze. I called dispatch to report suspicious activity and asked them to send someone over, just in case. They said it'd be about 40 minutes before a car could make it out to my location. Typical. I locked the office door behind me and started checking the other cameras, fast and jittery. Nothing on 1, 2, or 3. Camera 4 still empty. Camera 5, which overlooks the front gate, had something though. A car parked just outside the lot. Headlights off. It hadn't been there earlier. I zoomed in. A dark-colored sedan. Couldn't make out the plates, but I saw movement in the driver's seat. Someone was in there, watching. I kept the monitor on that feed while I dialed the police directly this time. I didn't want to wait another 40 minutes. As I pressed the call button, the camera feed on screen glitched, just a flicker, and the car was gone. Like it had vanished in a blink. I stood up fast, knocking over my coffee. My heart was pounding now. Then I heard it, a click. Not from the office, from the warehouse floor. It sounded like a latch being undone, a lock popping open. I shut off the lights in the office and slowly crouched under the desk, listening. Another click. Then a door creaked somewhere in the distance. I turned the volume up on the monitor to try and catch any audio feed. Faint footsteps, at least 2 people. Slow, deliberate, not rushing, like they knew the layout, like they weren't worried about being caught. I stayed put. I'm not a cop. I'm not even armed. My job is to observe and report, and maybe yell into a walkie-talkie if something looks weird. This was beyond weird. I texted dispatch an update, told them there were intruders inside, and I waited. Time dragged. I kept one eye on the hallway monitor. Still nothing. Then, just as suddenly as it started, silence. 10 minutes passed, then 15, no movement, no sound, no car, no calls. Finally, I saw flashing red and blue on the camera feed. The cops had arrived. I let them in, told them everything, showed them the footage. but when we went to replay the tape, the feed had corrupted. Just static during the exact time frame I saw the man and heard the sounds. The system had recorded everything before and after, but not the critical part, like it had been wiped. The cops did a full sweep, no one on site, no signs of forced entry, no damage, nothing stolen, nothing left behind. Just a slightly ajar emergency exit that should have been deadbolted. They left with a shrug, told me to keep the door locked and call again if anything else happens. And that was that. The company replaced the cameras a week later. I put in a transfer request the day after that. It's been 6 months. I still work nights, but at a different location, more people around, more lights, and I never let strange calls go to voicemail anymore. But sometimes when it's quiet and the lights flicker just the right way, I remember that voice on the phone. You should have stayed inside. And I wonder how much worse it could have been if I hadn't. I've worked as a night janitor for almost a decade. I've cleaned clinics, schools, government buildings, but nothing creeped me out quite like the place I worked downtown last year. Atlas Tower. 43 stories of glass, steel, and offices that feel too quiet after 6 p.m. Atlas contracts me for the top 20 floors. Most nights, I'm alone, except for the occasional security guard doing his rounds on the lower levels. I start at the top and work my way down. I've never liked elevators, but after 1 week of hauling supplies up 43 flights, I made my peace with it. The building is automatic everything, lights on motion sensors, elevators that hum like whispering ghosts, security cameras everywhere. Still, there's something about being in an office at 2 a.m. that messes with your brain. Desks frozen in time, coffee mugs half finished, post-it notes with forgotten names. You can almost feel how busy it is during the day and how empty it is now. But the weirdness really started on a Wednesday night, the week before Thanksgiving. I just finished floor 22 and was headed to 21. I hit the button on the elevator and leaned against the wall while it descended. But when it passed floor 22, it skipped 21. It just went straight to 20. I frowned, tapped the control panel, and double-checked the list. Sure enough, no option for 21. I got off at 20, thinking maybe I'd misread something. But there was no stairwell access to 21 either. Just a solid wall where the door should have been. I even asked security later. That floor's been vacant for years, they said. Some kind of internal restructure, sealed off, no access. But here's the thing. I'd cleaned 21 the week before. I remember it clearly. Conference rooms, rows of cubicles, a kitchenette with stale donuts on the counter. I even remember vacuuming under the long glass table in the big meeting room, dodging the chairs someone had left in disarray. There was a calendar on the wall, November 2022. So why was it suddenly sealed off? I brushed it off, chalked it up to a mix-up. Maybe I'd been on 20 and just thought it was 21. The floors look almost identical anyway. I figured I'd ask my supervisor the next day. That Friday, I went back to my usual shift. Around midnight, I got to floor 23, where the law firm leases space. As I was cleaning the break room, I heard a ding, the elevator. Odd. I hadn't called it. I peeked out into the hallway. The elevator doors were open. No one inside. It was just sitting there, open and waiting. I stepped in, a little uneasy, and hit the button for 22. Instead, the elevator began ascending, not descending. It passed 24, 25, then stopped. Floor 19. Now I don't clean floor 19. That belongs to a different company and a different janitor. But when the doors opened, the lights were off. No one there. Just the faint buzz of overhead fluorescence and the pale blue glow of exit signs. And yet, I swear I heard something. A faint scraping sound. Like someone dragging something heavy across carpet. I stepped out slowly. I don't know why. I should have hit the closed door button and gone back up. But curiosity got the better of me. I walked down the main corridor, trying to pinpoint the sound. My shoes felt too loud on the tile. I passed empty offices, all glass-walled and dark. Everything looked abandoned. No furniture, no computers, just outlines on the carpet where desks used to be. Then I saw movement. Down the hall, one of the doors was slightly open. Something had just shifted behind it. Maybe a shadow, maybe a person. "Hello," I called out. No answer. I moved closer. The door creaked wider as I approached. My throat was tight. My flashlight beam shook in my hand. Inside was an old desk, one chair, and a man. middle-aged, balding, wearing a white button-down shirt. He sat with his back to me, facing the window, completely still. "Sir," I said, "you're not supposed to be here after hours." He didn't move, not an inch. I took one step closer. "Are you okay?" Still nothing. I looked around the room, no personal items, no signs of work, just that old desk, a blinking landline phone, and this man sitting as if the office had never been emptied. I started backing out. This felt wrong. Not illegal, not dangerous, just off. That's when he spoke. "They never left." I froze. "What?" His head turned, slowly, just enough to show part of his face. His eyes looked wrong, too wide, like he hadn't blinked in hours. "They never left," he repeated, "just stopped being seen." I took a step back. "All right, I'm calling security." "No use," he said. "They don't see this floor. Never did." I turned and booked it. I ran back to the elevator, slammed the close button a dozen times. The doors shut just as I saw something move at the end of the hall. Another shadow, another shape. It didn't follow, but I didn't wait to find out. When I got back to the security office, I told the night guard everything. He looked at me like I was sleep-deprived. "You said floor 19?" he asked. I nodded. He pulled up the building's digital directory on his tablet and turned it to face me. There was no floor 19. He scrolled, showing me the blueprint. 18, then 20. Some superstition from the developers, like how some hotels skip 13. "But I was there," I said. "I got out, walked around. There was someone." He shook his head. "Impossible. There's no floor between 18 and 20. It's just wiring and ducts." I insisted. Told him to pull the footage. That's when it got worse. He showed me the elevator cam. From 11:54 p.m. to 12:12 a.m., there was a gap. Static. Then the next frame showed me stepping back in, pale-faced and sweating. The timestamp jumped, 18 minutes missing, and the strangest thing? My uniform looked different in that returning frame. A tear on the shoulder I don't remember, a smudge on my face. I don't know how long I was actually gone. I quit 2 days later, told them I had a family emergency. I've never set foot back in that building, but sometimes I dream about it. A hallway full of empty offices, a phone that won't stop blinking, a man staring out the window at a city that doesn't see him anymore, and always floor 19. I worked the overnight shift at a gas station just off the interstate, about 10 miles outside a small town no one ever really talks about. We've got 4 pumps, flickering overhead lights, and one of those ancient soda fountains that only half works. The convenience store's open 24/7, but most nights I don't see more than 5 people between midnight and 6 a.m. It's quiet out here, sometimes too quiet. The night I'm talking about started off normal. I clocked in just before 11, relieved the day clerk, made myself a coffee that tasted like metal, and settled into my usual routine. Sweeping the floor, checking expiration dates, and watching a small black and white monitor that showed 4 angles of the lot. Around 12:30, a silver sedan pulled in. Nothing strange about that. A guy got out, maybe late 20s, wearing a hoodie, jeans, and a black ball cap pulled low. He went straight to pump 3, swiped his card, and started fueling. I kept an eye on him like I always do. Not because he looked suspicious, just habit. When you work nights, you learn to read body language like your life depends on it. He moved slow, kept looking around, like he expected someone to show up. He finished pumping, but didn't leave. Instead, he came inside. "Evening," I said. He didn't answer right away, just stared at the chip rack near the door, then walked to the back cooler, grabbed a bottle of water, and came up to the counter. I rang him up. "That'll be 205. He reached into his hoodie pocket and pulled out a 5. His hand was shaking. "Cold out there tonight," I offered, trying to be polite. He looked up at me, finally made eye contact. His eyes were bloodshot. Not drunk, more like sleep-deprived or high on something that doesn't make you happy. Then he asked, "You got a bathroom?" I nodded. "Outside, around back. Keys on the wall." He didn't take the key, just stared at me again. Then slowly he leaned forward and whispered, "You alone here?" Something about the way he asked it set off every alarm in my brain. My mouth went dry. "I'm not," I lied. "Manager's in the back, doing inventory." He didn't blink, just nodded like he was cataloging that answer. Then he turned and walked out. He didn't go to the bathroom. He got in his car, sat for maybe 30 seconds, then drove away. I stood there for a full minute after the taillights disappeared, heart pounding in my chest. I told myself I was overreacting. People ask weird stuff all the time. Maybe he was just high or anxious. But still, I double-locked the front door, which I usually never do. Around 1:50, a white pickup pulled in. No lights. It coasted into the lot like it was trying not to be noticed. I only saw it because the monitor flickered and caught the reflection in the glass. The truck parked near the dumpster, out of view of the main cameras. Nobody got out. For a long time, it just sat there. I was about to call the non-emergency line when I saw someone move, a figure climbing out on the passenger side. It was Hoodie Guy. He wasn't alone now. The driver was taller, wearing all black. Couldn't see his face, just the glint of something in his hand. Long, metallic. They didn't come straight to the door. They circled around the building. The power box was back there, near the bathroom entrance. I moved fast, locked the back door, killed the inside lights, hit the silent alarm under the register. Thank God the place still had one. Then I crouched behind the counter and waited. I heard the breaker flip. The outside lights went out. The signs, the pumps, everything, pitch black, except for the emergency light above the cooler, which flickered like a dying star. I peeked through the slats under the counter. The front door rattled lightly like someone was checking if it would give. Then I heard them talking, muffled voices, one calm, one nervous. "You," said he was alone. He said someone was in the back. "You sure?" "No lights. I don't think anyone's there." They moved around the side again. I couldn't see them, but I heard their footsteps, slow and deliberate. Then came the sound of something scraping against metal. The back door. They were trying to pry it open. I grabbed the baseball bat we keep under the counter and my phone. I texted 911, quietly, explaining the situation. The minutes dragged. The banging started, soft at first, then louder, a grunt, a curse. One of them was using something heavy, probably a crowbar, then silence. 5 minutes passed, 10. I stayed down, barely breathing. I thought maybe they gave up. Maybe the cops would get here in time. Then the alarm chime dinged. Front door, the lock must have failed. My heart jumped into my throat. Slow, heavy footsteps creaked across the tile. I didn't dare move. I could hear breathing. Close. Just the other side of the counter. Then, a whisper. Where'd he go? Footsteps again, faster now. One of them opened the cooler door. Another rattled the bathroom key hook. Then Hoodie Guy's voice again, angry this time. "We were supposed to be in and out. You sure there's cash? I saw the drawer. He's got a phone. He tripped something." A pause. Then from the tall one, "We need to find him before the cops do." I tightened my grip on the bat. If they came behind the counter, I'd swing first, ask questions later. But they didn't. Instead, the bell chimed again. Back door. They ran. I heard the crunch of boots on gravel, a truck engine turning over, then silence and sirens. Blue and red lights lit up the parking lot like a damn disco. The sheriff's deputy found me behind the counter, shaking like a leaf. They took my statement, pulled the security footage, dusted for prints. The power box had been tampered with. The breaker switch was jammed open with a screwdriver. But what chilled me most? Hoodie Guy came in earlier to case the store. He knew where the cameras were, what I looked like, how I reacted. He wasn't nervous. He was calculating. They never caught them. Truck was stolen. Prints came back unknown. Forensics found nothing useful. For a few nights after that, I didn't go back. Thought about quitting, but I didn't. I came back with a knife in my boot and pepper spray in my pocket. I work behind locked doors now. No more letting people in past midnight. No exceptions. But every time a car pulls in with no headlights, my blood goes cold. I still wonder what would have happened if I hadn't hit that alarm, if the lock hadn't held, if they'd been just a little faster. And I keep thinking about what they said. We need to find him before the cops do. They weren't just there to rob the place. They were going to make sure I didn't talk.